Welcome to this weekend's auction video ending anywhere between Friday the 11th and Sunday the 13th of July. There are a lot of really quality animals, so as always I recommend checking them out. But without further ado, let's take a look at some of the ones we highlighted this week. Starting off with this clown Hypo Pied from Aura. This is a really quality triple recessive animal, and it's still got some time here. As you can see, there's a good amount of interest here. Lots of really great things you can do with this. Obviously, you're always guaranteed to pass on 3 hets here. A clown, Hypo, and Pied, which means when you're working this to a plethora of females, you get a lot of options on the table. In a way, maybe you get a female that has some extra genetics to her, something cool like, well, something that I always recommend, like Blackhead. Maybe she's got a het in one of these just to kind of make her a little bit cheaper. Maybe a clown Pied that's het for Hypo, but it ends up being a Blackhead. Or maybe even a triple het, something along those lines, because you have 50-50 odds on each recessives on hitting, and you can get something with a few extra genetics in them so that you can actually spice this combo up even more. Lots of great opportunity with this. Even if you're just working this to a female that has a couple of these genetics in there, again, you're always guaranteed to pass those hets on. So a really cool male to take a look at, and a very beautiful one at that. Next up from Saga Morphs would be this Lavender Albino Pied, otherwise known as the Dream Sickle. You can already see how the lavenders start to come in. When they're first born, these are very pitch white, very similar to the albino pieds, but as the albino pieds age, this kind of bleeds in with another yellow, so it becomes a two-tone yellowish type snake typically. While not all are created equal, when you have the albino pieds, they tend to bleed in this more of a yellowish color. So you have more of a two-toned yellow, which while still beautiful, doesn't contrast as well as what happens with the albino pieds, in my opinion, where you get this bleeding of this lavender instead. So these whites, these stark whites, start to become more of a lavender type color, and it contrasts a lot better, especially when the animal is a lot more bright and vibrant, like this nice orange. The Dreamsicles were once $2,500 or more, and now you can find them here on the auctions. Don't kid yourself, this will go for a bit more, but it'll still be a far cry from what it once was, so therefore it's a lot more affordable to start working these genes for yourself and to put it into a lot of different cool combos. Now, I know I just recommended it, and I recommend it all the time, but Blackhead and Lavender Albino is a match made in heaven. Blackhead Dreamsicles, they are very, very nice. So that is one that I would highly recommend working. Speaking of lavender type snakes, one that doesn't get talked about enough and could potentially go for a record low in my opinion, that would be the Rainbow. Specifically this Rainbow Super Pastel Leopard Het Ghost, or Het Hypo as it's come to be more known as now. This male, if you wanted to start working something super cool and unique, could be the key to it all for you. Obviously, working this into Hypo is a no-brainer. You've already got a couple other key genes in there. Being a Super Pastel, it will always pass Pastel along, and it looks pretty darn nice as is. What I really love about the Rainbow is, in my opinion, of the lighter side albino, the standard albino type looks, whether it be the regular albino, candy and toffee, or even the lavender albino like before, Rainbow seems to just kind of take the cake. It really is just so awesome and vibrant. Everything down to the look of their eyes is just so incredible. Now imagine that with the Hypo in there and just how bright and amazing this animal would truly be. So this could really just set you apart. Rainbow is not a gene that I see very often on Morphmarket Auctions without a reserve. It's kind of a rarity. It's a unicorn, so to speak. So this is definitely something that if you want to make a splash, if you want to be incredibly unique, look no further. If you like what you see, this boy right here could make it all happen for you. Another wonderful gene that works well in combos is Redhead, and this Redhead Mojave Het Clown 50% Het Hypo has a lot going for it. This girl right here, let's not even talk about the fact that she might be Hypo. Redhead clowns are fantastic. Take a look at this one here. It's just a standard Redhead clown from Canova, and it is just so cool. I see a lot of variability, which tells me that I think there's some variability with the Redhead maybe, and that it itself has different lines and it's just maybe powerful. I don't know, I'm just spitballing and thinking here because I've seen some Redhead clowns and they're very nice, but then there's this that just has this jagged scar of rusty reds going down the entire back of the snake. It's messy, it's dirty, but it's not messy and dirty in a bad way. It's not mud, it's just chaos, and such awesome coloring here. So now imagine that being brightened up and beautified with Hypo. Hypo is a test that you can send to RGI, so definitely check it out. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen it, Rare Genetics has a new website here, and you can order direct now from the website yourself. There are graded tests here which kind of tell you the accuracy of the gene. Not that all of them aren't over 99% as is, but you can take a look at like any one of these. They tell you quite a bit. And sometimes there's little videos that are on here that'll tell you more about the genes and show them in detail. And wouldn't you know it, they actually referenced us on here, which we very much appreciate. But let's just say we wanted to test an animal here for Monsoon. You just fill out the information here and then select the gene or genes that you wanted to test for. So let's just say we wanted to do that Monsoon here. We click that. If we wanted to add an additional gene, we click it here, and you can get those for an additional $20 per gene. You just fill out your information here like I did, add to cart, check out, and then you can actually use our promo code Rhyno, to save yourself a gnarly 15% off all of your testing. Then you just fill out the rest of your information and pay right there, and you can actually get your results directly to the website now with no need to go through any other party sites if you didn't want to. But this is a really cool one. Now there is a reserve. I always say just bid up to where you are comfortable. So if you're comfortable at $500, don't just type 500. Bid up in increments, so 25 until you reach your top dollar that you wanted to spend. Or if it falls off before, say at maybe $300, then you can just stop there and see if anybody else outbids you. It becomes a regular auction at that point. A really cool girl here. If someone wanted to put Redhead into their collection, which is a really subtle but awesome gene in combinations, especially in clown, this would be a great girl to take a crack at. Moving along to this Barnhart Black Pastel Leopard Clown 50% Het Monsoon. You can test for Het Monsoon with RGI. We featured Royal X Reptiles last week, and before that we featured them on our channel a few times because there's really quality animals that they make. The Barnhart Black Pastel specifically, they seem to do incredibly well with that. Lots of great clowns. They're working Monsoon into a lot of their stuff. This could potentially be an incredibly powerful animal, and it goes to an incredibly amazing family, and the family is battling some health issues at this time. So not only would you be getting a wonderful animal, but you'd be helping a wonderful family. Lots to love about the animal in general. I really love the dark undertones, but yet the blushed orangey crispy side to this. The Leopard and the Barnhart Black Pastel just work together to almost give it a Batman type look, just a little bit darker in a way. So it looks incredible. Still a really cool animal, and again, this cannot be understated. If it is Monsoon and you're looking at possibly finding yourself a clown Monsoon maker, those are amazing. As you can see here, what it does is it just brings all of that awesomeness that the Monsoon does, amps it up to about 1 trillion, and puts it on the head. This is an exotic animal. It is incredible on how amazing it looks. Even if it did not prove out as Het Clown, this is still a pretty powerful boy. But again, it just cannot be understated how lucky you could possibly get. Again, I would think it's a no-brainer on testing for Monsoon here, but wow, really great opportunity for somebody here. Next up would be this Pastel Het Monsoon Het Sunset. Another really great opportunity to delve into these double recessives that haven't really been touched all that much. I don't think there has been a Monsoon Sunset. So this being a girl here at that, you grow her up and get her to about 2 years old before you source your male, because who knows what might be available at that time, right? Maybe you can get yourself a cheaper male at some point, and maybe you can get a Sunset Het Monsoon for a moderately reasonable price and really increase your odds of hitting that, so you're only going to head on one of them. Maybe wishful thinking on my part, but at the very least it gives you some time to source. And even if you do have to get a Het Monsoon Het Sunset boy, well, for one, I don't know how available those are even. So even the hardest chance to hit this might be a little difficult to source what you need. So the good thing, though, is that you can test now for both of these, as I mentioned earlier. And getting a female gives you time to source that male however you might go about it. I suspect that the Monsoon Sunset could be a real beautiful animal, because Sunset is obviously a very color-based morph. Monsoon does a crazy amount with the pattern, so the two of those should go together quite well. Another wonderful female from Frameshift Reptiles would be this Pixel Red Stripe Het Pied Het Genetic Stripe. Pixel is a really awesome gene. I absolutely love what it does to the animal, and really just blows out the pattern with all these little, well, pixelated and granulated type looks. It's one of the more intense granulation genes. We actually got a Pixel from Frameshift. It's an outstanding animal, and again from another really outstanding breeder that makes quality pixel animals. Kind of reminds me of Stranger in some ways, except without the darkness factor as much. It really just kind of does this while keeping the animal a little bit brighter. Of course, this is with red stripe, so it's going to add a little bit more to what you normally see, a little bit more tinginess of these orangey type colors. So if you wanted to get into a gene that is otherwise very difficult to get into, Frameshift Reptiles has pixels on here from time to time, and they are very good quality animals. So we're looking next at this pastel, black pastel, Stranger Confusion Clown. Lots of rare genetics in here. You don't see something like this available all that often. The black pastel Stranger Confusion, specifically those. I honestly wish it had not hit pastel in this particular combo. No hatred towards pastel, but it wouldn't have brightened as much, and I think that it would have been a lot more contrasted. But that is not a big deal because you have a female here that already has all those genes in there, so you could put something like my GHI spot nose to an animal like this and expect to get outstanding results. I don't know what else there is really more to say. And the only thing I wouldn't want to put to this is another pastel. I wouldn't want to get a super pastel. I do like this animal quite a bit, even with pastel, but I definitely would like to see it without it. And then on top of that, with some even more crazy granulation things like that GHI that I had previously mentioned, or something that would pair incredibly well with Confusion, like Leopard. Leopard and Confusion go together very, very well. But I really love how this looks like someone took little dots of ink perfectly and meticulously across the entire animal where the pattern did not touch and just dotted it almost perfectly. It's like it's laid on some sort of braille animal, and these stickers of pattern go over top of it. Like I said, this is a quality animal. It doesn't surprise me that the price is there, and it's got bids. I don't know what this one will land at, but again, this is a really powerful animal that could level you up more than one level in your breeding team. There is no doubt in that. We already touched on a few sunsets here, but we got a few other ones, including this Pinstripe Orange Dream Het Sunset Girl. Another great way that if you get yourself a male, males are coming down to a reasonable price now, and you can start getting the ingredients together to eventually breed Sunset. Pretty much no matter what your budget is. There is a reserve on this one, but I already told you how you should do that. Just bid up to where you're comfortable. But speaking of sunsets that are visual, well, again, there is another one. I think that's the second week in a row where you can get a sunset, a male. This one does have a little bit more time than the others, no doubt, but a male is a good way to start breeding it into other combos anyways. A male will get to size a lot quicker. A male like this could theoretically be ready in a year and a half for sure, most likely. And heck, I've even seen some people get them up to size and breeding within 6 months. Regardless, you can get that into your collection a lot quicker, and in the meantime you can source yourself a female. Whether it's hets, you can start creating your own combinations, but when you get a male, I always recommend that you should start taking a look at what you already have. If you already have a established collection, like say I do, I eventually want to get Sunset. I've already determined that I would like to work that into the Monarchs. Now, I'm sure someone will beat me to the punch and make a Sunset Monarch before I do, but that's okay because I want to start making it with some extra stuff as well. I don't want to just make the Sunset Monarch. I want to make something a little more, but I kind of need to determine what that all would be, and that's something that you would need to determine, of course. But it is my recommendation to look at your collection if you've already got one and say, well, how can I use this animal not just to create a new project, but to enhance what I already have? And that's the sort of way that you innovate and start making different and new things while leveling up your own collection and not really having to go outside of it as much. And continuing on with a few other sunsets, and not a visual sunset here, but a clown het sunset girl. This is a really awesome opportunity, especially since this is the girl here, so a sunset het clown male, while being a bit more, he'll be the one that's a little bit cheaper for sure. And clown sunsets are awesome, and if you can get it with a few other genetics like yellow belly or spot nose, I would highly recommend it, because you can make something like this. This specifically is a sunset spot nose clown, but you can see how awesome and outstanding it is, and just how much it lightens it up. Sunset can trend a little bit darker, so you don't want to burn it out. So when you work it with something a little bit lighter like this, it's just perfect. Look how bright and vibrant this is while still having contrast. When looking at this, it's easy to say, wow, this is one of the most orangey snakes ever, and you look at the belly and it's bright, but as you get towards the back, it does become a little darker. So there is a great contrast here of color. There's even some whites near the belly there, and this nice orange tinged pattern, very obvious to what Spot Nose brings in and how it works with clowns. Still, it works so much better when you have this nice little paint job just slapped on top of it. So some really cool sunsets here. If that is your cup of tea, if you wanted to start working with sunset, and I don't know why you wouldn't, then definitely take a look at these ones this week. For our second to last one, this Desert Ghost Enchi Pastel Clown definitely caught my attention. This is a really nice, beautiful, bright animal, and this just goes to show you why Desert Ghost exploded in popularity the way it did. Desert Ghost seemed to absolutely set alight the entire ball python community when it started going, and it's easy to see why. I mean, if you look at an Enchi Pastel Clown, that is not what they look like. That is what they look like, and while very, very beautiful, I think you can see what I see in that there is a very stark difference between these animals. This is incredibly bright and cleaned and brought in with a more creamy type color, which really cleans it up and emboldens the blacks on it, and just really cleaning up what you're seeing and just leaving something that's just, I don't know, crisp and smooth. I don't know how else to describe it. It's incredible. If you wanted to start working DG clowns, this would be a great one to do it with, because this is just wow. It's incredible. That's all I have to say is wow. Then for our final one would be this Mahogany Pied girl here, who's got a good amount of size to her. In fact, there's more than just a good amount of size. The only reason she's not up to size anymore is because, well, this is a proven breeder that just laid eggs here in March. Really great opportunity here, honestly. Something I might need to think about, because I have wanted to get into Mahogany Pieds for a while, specifically for one reason, and that is the Suma Pied. And the Suma Pied is a dark animal, one that does bring in a lot of those blacks, but it brings in more than just blacks. It brings in some dark mahogany type colors. It brings in some golden browns, really just like two planets colliding, because you see this next to each other, and you might think right off the bat, and with good reason, that you have something that is a paradox here. This is not something normal, but this Mahogany Pieds just tend to throw these types of colors at you. Right here is a perfect example of what happens, and usually I see them with a lot more pattern, quite frankly. Something that I think gives it an edge over the super black pastels, otherwise known as the Panda Pieds. And unlike the Panda Pieds, these do not have any increased issue of kinking of the spine. I have seen a lot of variety with the Suma Pieds as well. As you can see, again, here's one with a lot more pattern on it, and you can see even here the differences, even in the shades, just these right next to each other. There's a little bit of a darker brown. Here's a much more golden, lighter brown. Here's a really dark brown. Here's one that's nearly all black. Back to a bronzish type color. Just incredible. Even throughout the animal, it looks like unevenly applied staining to a deck or something. So I'll tell you what, right now, I'm in. I'm placing a placeholder bid. It looks like I was already outbid by someone, yep, with an auto bids, and that's okay, because that is a new feature. And the whole point to that was that I now will be told when this auction is 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 10 minutes to closing. So I can take a look and determine if I want to go in on this a little bit more. It is one that you can create some really cool animals with. Like I said, there's more than just the Suma Pied route, but that is definitely one that I highly recommend working if you have the chance. Suma Pieds are absolutely outstanding. And that'll do it for this week's auctions. As always, if you have won anything from prior auctions or from this one, please let us know in the comments below. We always love hearing about it, and if you wanted to hear about some of the genetics that we discussed in today's video, you can actually check out a video on those right here and right here.